This is Lon Winters with Graphic Elephants.
This is Jimmy Lamp.
This is Matt Vassallo with the RhinstoneWorld.com.
And you're listening to the Two Regular Guys podcast.
And you are listening to the Two Regular Guys podcast.
Hosted by...
My name is Terry Combs, RG, regular guy.
And Aaron Montgomery.
We're just regular guys having fun and trying to make a living in this really cool and exciting industry.
I think we all want to succeed 100% of the time.
Seek to understand before I try and make myself understood.
Bring a ton of great information.
Coming to you live from somewhere dark, dirty, and dank.
All right. Well, welcome into the show. It is Friday, July 8th, 2022. I'm Terry Combs, and you can find me at terrycombs.com.
And yes, I am Erich Montgomery. I am alive. And you could find me over at oursuccessgroup.com. So Terry, today, why not, right? This is the Two Regular Guys. We had to make a quick change, a quick pivot. Fortunately, we are blessed with that opportunity, that ability to make that quick pivot. And we are asking our own Erich Campbell to be our guest today. And he's going to talk to us about one of his favorite topics, non-decorating skills that matter for decorators. So we're excited. Who knows if this will become a multi-part show, Terry.
The three of us all on at the same time. What are the
about
odds
a topic that we all really enjoy? I don't know.
We'll be right on time, probably.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's say good morning to some of the regulators here, really quick, and also first I have to give a special thanks to both you and Erich for holding down the fort for the last 2 weeks. I am sitting down. I didn't get the desk adjusted in time, but I did some math on the way home yesterday, and we over the last 3 weeks we put 5,000 miles on our car. So
that's incredible. That's like across the country and 2/3 of the way back.
Pretty much. So it was a great trip, though, and we could talk about that later. But let's check in with some of the regulators. We had Cindy checking in this morning. Good morning, Cindy. And Erich, good morning to everybody there. So we have Justus checking in from Sweden. And let's see here. Crystal says, morning. Got to go find headphones so I can hear over the machine stitching away. That's great.
Look at that.
Making money and listening to regular guys all at the same time. I love it. So, and we've got Rich. Good morning. And Todd from Fat Dad Wholesale checking in. Good morning, Todd. And then Kristen, thank you. It is good to be back too. I did get to see Kristen on that 5,000-mile road trip. She was one of the judges out there at Skills USA. So I will get settled back in and have a little bit better recap here one of these days, maybe next week. All right. So let's see here. Thank you, Ramona. I appreciate you saying so. And Cindy, I did drive across the top of Texas. Actually, yesterday morning at 7 a.m., I was in Amarillo, Texas. And
you were literally in Amarillo by morning?
In the morning. Yeah. Well, we slept there. And then, so yes, I was Amarillo in the morning when I got up. Crazy enough, I decided to let's go ahead and drive all the way home from Amarillo, which is about 11-hour drive. And then got home, had a half hour at home to change into my volleyball gear, and then went and played volleyball at 9:30 last night. So,
oh my gosh,
I'm a glutton for punishment, but I had a blast. So, all right. Well, Terry, let's hit a quick news item that you've got that came across our desk here. I saw this also, but appreciate you adding that. Fiery, the digital front end of DFE, digital front end, which is what that is, and a workflow business of EFI, Electronics for Imaging. They announced that they have acquired CADLink Technology Corporation, an industry-leading software company that delivers solutions for the high-growth areas of digital direct-to-garment and direct-to-film printing. So we'll have, Erich's got it right there, bit.ly EFICAD. If you want to go check that out, if you're a podcast listener, if you're catching it live, you can also scan the QR code up in the top right corner of your screen to get over to that article. That's pretty interesting, Terry. I know you work closely with CADLink. Anything that you're concerned about, or what do you think is going to be good?
I'm not sure. I thought it was very interesting, though. And for people who don't know, for screen printers out there, CADLink out of Canada, they're the company that invented RIP software for screen printers to make film positives many years ago. And so They have been a part of the garment decorating industry for a long, long time. So, probably just a little bit, as we keep seeing, a little more consolidation in the industry. But interesting news, though.
Yeah, definitely interesting news. And, I saw a couple posts from some of the different folks from CADLink that I'm friends with on social media, and they all seem to be very positive about it. Nobody seemed like they were concerned. It sounds like that CADLink will continue to operate kind of as a separate entity, and then hopefully take advantage of what comes from being acquired by a larger company. We're like you said, we're seeing more and more. I don't know if it's more and more. We've seen some of that recently with the Printavo Inktavo. What is that? What it's going to be?
Whatever it becomes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if my company, the company I work for, merges with another company, I'm going to be very, very positive about that, because there's somebody over there that does the exact same job as me. So I would like to keep my job. So gung ho.
Very good point. Very good point. I don't know, but I might give you a chance to retire. Actually, Terry, I don't know.
True.
No, I'm just kidding.
I've
All right.
been talking about for how many years, right?
Yeah. This is the last. Okay. All right. You love it too much. You just can't help yourself. You like us too much.
Hotel California.
That's right. That is right. Awesome. All right. Well, congrats to the folks at CADLink and EFI. We'll see how that goes. And like Terry says, yeah, they've been involved in garment decorating for a long time. In fact, many of the products that we used to sell were kind of white labels of those products too.
Right.
Back in our early days in this, my early days in this industry. So, all right. Well, Terry, you have been a fantastic keeper of the dad jokes, even keeping an extra set on hand at the bottom of our outlines. So
just in case.
Yes, indeed. I've been remiss. I have seen some things across social. In fact, Yosta sent me one that I'll need to add to the data base there, but not for today. So are you ready for today though, sir?
Yeah, this is kind of a sad tale. Did you guys know that every morning when I leave the house, a bike comes out of nowhere and runs over me?
I did not know that, Terry. What happens?
It's a vicious cycle.
Wow.
I see the old head shake over there.
That one was not the positive head shake either, Terry.
No, it was not.
Oh my. All right. Well, I feel like I'm fully welcome back now, Terry. That was good. That was very awesome.
You can be there on camera chuckling at whatever Todd says about that joke. And I will go on to say we want to thank everybody for checking out the Two Regular Guys podcast. We are always looking for new guests. So if you or anyone would like to join us, go to calendly.com/2, the number 2, regular guys with your show ideas. If you are listening to the podcast version, we would appreciate you sharing the Two Regular Guys with all of your industry friends so they can become regulators too. And we would appreciate you giving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Amazon Podcast, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you're watching us live right now, join in with your comments and questions. We would all like to share your ideas and your questions as well.
Yeah, indeed. I'm looking forward to interacting with the regulators again, Terry. And Todd did not disappoint here, Terry, by the way. He said, I'm going to have to backpedal away from that one. So
Very good.
Okay. I can get way down in that rabbit hole. Let's not. Okay. Well, let's hear a quick word about a week from tomorrow. I've got a workshop that we're doing on strategic business planning, and I want to share that with everybody here. So let's hear a quick word about that.
As small business owners, we face a lot of challenges. And lately, words like inflation, fear, recession, war, strife are all coming up more and more. And many times we think the best course of action is just to dive right in and have no plan. We end up wasting time. We end up wasting money. We get overwhelmed. We feel frustrated. But the better option is to have a strategic plan. Then nothing's wasted, we're more efficient, we have confidence, we have clarity, and we have purpose. Dr. Stephen Covey said, all things are created twice. There's a mental or first creation and a physical or second creation. So we've created a workshop called Growing Your Business Effortlessly. This is going to happen on July 15th, and we can't wait to work with you on your strategic plan. That way you end up with more clarity, confidence, and purpose inside of your business. We're going to cover these 5 topics and more. If you go to oursuccessgroup.com/grow, you can learn more and you can register right there. We have 2 options. There's the live workshop that's available for only $29, or you can be part of the VIP experience and get that live workshop plus recorded access and much, much more. Go to oursuccessgroup.com/grow to register. There are limited seats available, so sign up right away.
All right. Well, I'm really excited about that workshop, Terry. So I've got people signing up. And in fact, I see a couple of regulators joining us here. Nikki at Demkowitz. I got it right. She was kind enough to share in her group, and I really appreciate that. And also Sheila Ryan. Good morning. And Sheila shared that workshop out there as well. So thank you guys so much for that. I'm really excited about that happening, Terry. So in fact, I kind of got really excited about it because of the things we're going to be discussing today too. So
it all ties in.
Yeah. And we didn't even plan that. So this is really cool.
No, so what was it, mid-afternoon yesterday when we were notified that, hey, I can't make it to your show. And Erich immediately volunteered. So
he did.
There was no coercion or anything.
No. We did not have to drag him kicking and screaming. He stepped up as he always does. So, well, speaking of that, Terry, you think we should roll into that segment of our show here?
I think we should.
After saying good morning to Kim Johnson, by the way. So good morning, Kim Johnson. It is Friday. Yes, I'm excited. All right. Well, here we go. Erich Campbell is an award-winning machine embroidery digitizer and designer, frequently contributing to the embroidery industry resources, including hosting his weekly show, The Take Up. Erich has done many jobs in the industry, from creating and managing e-commerce properties to social media and marketing, to establishing and managing relationships between vendors and industry businesses. Erich is an evangelist for the craft, a stitch-obsessed embroiderer believer, and firmly holds to constant lifelong learning and the free exchange of techniques and experience through conversations with his fellow embroiderers, the reciprocators.
Continue on. Today we want to talk about some of the areas that don't get.
Let me finish here with introducing Erich. Terry, sorry to interrupt there. Yeah, that's okay. I jumped off course there because I was trying to make a joke, and I should really stop doing that. He is also the producer and frequent contributor to the popular Two Regular Guys podcast, lending his unique embroidery experience to the mix. Welcome into the program, Mr. Erich Campbell. Hey, yeah, I forgot to say you got to push the button too. So.
Oh no, I'm still pushing buttons. I know. Just because I jumped in doesn't mean I don't get to be off the other job. That's how it is.
I thought that was my job to always be pushing people's buttons, but I thought that was
figuratively
my position in the show.
Figuratively, I literally push the buttons. You figuratively push the buttons.
Yes.
All right. Well, hey, we want to talk about some of the areas that don't get as much press as the nuts and bolts training that's out there.
Sure.
Like how to digitize, how to print, hoop, etc. That area of education has really blossomed in the last 10 to 20 years. But what about the skills business owners need to operate their business? 99 and businesses every day. 99% of decorators don't come out of business school to start their businesses, and I would venture to say it might even be 100%.
Good chance of that.
So, armed with my degree in journalism. Yes, of course. So let's talk about diversity. And Erich, your degree is not in embroidery, right?
No, not at all.
Talk to us about how the different backgrounds decorators often come from and end up as strengths in their businesses and in their creative lives. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big chunk of things to cover, because I mean, we talked a little bit about the business side of it, and we're talking about what things come up as strengths, and you're totally right. My background is absolutely not in embroidery. I didn't dream at all that I'd be doing this. There was no 10-year-old Erich sitting down with threads wishing to be an embroiderer. That did not happen. So for everybody who feels that way, I mean, I know people who are like that, who have these dreams and followed them through their whole lives. I slid on fire sideways into embroidery as a career, and have stayed with it throughout. But I think the thing that's funny about this is, I know a lot of decorators who are like that. I mean, Terry, you're like that. Aaron, you didn't start out in apparel decoration. Very few of the people I know who are in apparel decoration, even at the highest levels, started out trying to do it. And I think it's actually the diversity of experiences that we have that kind of makes us not only interesting, but kind of it becomes a strength for people. Flatly, I mean, really becomes a strength, whether it's the business stuff or it's the creative stuff. I really think that a lot of it comes down to these different backgrounds lending us skills that help. And I'd say for me, and I know I would argue, Terry, I'm sure you're on the same boat with this, that our ability to communicate was definitely influenced by the schooling that we did. My degree is primarily in medieval studies, but via English. I was I wrote quite a lot. And I think being able to communicate and write and communicate clearly made a huge difference to my abilities, even though as I always talk about to people, I was an art school student. I have one semester of art. I mean, I did a lot of design education by myself after the fact, but I did not come out of this from art school. I don't have a BFA. I flatly do not have art education like that under my belt, aside from the stuff I did by myself after I was already a digitizer.
Yeah.
But the ability to communicate has made the absolute difference in everything else I've done. And especially when we're talking about the business stuff, when we're talking about pitching to a client, we're talking about formulating a business plan, we're talking about discussing with people what our business is, marketing, any of that, all of it is enhanced by the ability to communicate, think logically, put up a logical argument. And a lot of that is some stuff I got out of being kind of educated in other ways, being educated for medieval studies, writing papers in the kind of academic world. I'm not saying everybody needs to go do that. Not everybody needs to go write academic papers, but I think everybody comes to this, whether you're coming from a trade or you're coming from different kinds of education, you are coming to apparel decoration with something that probably will lend you some help if you look for where it overlaps with the rest of our business world.
Yeah.
Well,
the
and
rest of what we do.
you're exactly correct, and so whatever our background, that we do have that in our toolbox of things, and obviously, with my degree in journalism, it's not just the hundreds and hundreds of articles I've written, but
Yeah,
hey, job descriptions and things like that. That's one of the strengths that I have I brought to my screen printing business. So.
Yeah. Well, how about 458 descriptions for podcasts, right?
it's true.
True enough.
It's true. I think people really don't. They sell communication as something that's not that critical, but I think it's massive. And that doesn't mean that everybody needs to go out and get degrees in some sort of writing or technical writing or anything else. What I do think, however, is that there are skills, and also I want to talk about soft skills, because I'll say one of the other things I think about folks who kind of do go for some broader education, I agree, include self-education. I come from a more working class household. I'm not coming to you from a long line of people with doctorates. That is not the case. I definitely have a great love for the trades just because I come out here with a degree. I did a lot of my early work. I mean, my first job was as a baker, believe it or not. I was a baker at a bagel chain. That was the first thing I ever did for money. My dad was a mechanic. My mom was seamstress and warehouse manager and did purchasing for a company. These are the kind of things that everybody does, but they come to things with this different skill set. You might have organization as part of your skill set. You might have something else that's unrelated, but it comes to be there. Though I want to bring up a comment. I love this.
Yeah.
Unless we're Ramona, who has us all beat, some of us planned ahead. I have 2 years in business administration. You are a unicorn. And she's a good digitizer who can do business administration. But this is what I love. Her secondary comment is what I love the most about that, though. I just didn't know what I was going to do with it. So that's like a lot of us. I mean, I think that we sometimes sell the technical stuff. It's really easy for us to understand. I need to learn how to screen print. I need to learn how to embroider. I need to learn how to digitize. I need to learn how to sublimate. Yes, of course you do. But if you ignore everything else, including stuff like soft skills, like emotional intelligence, curiosity, the ability to be to persevere when things are rough, dealing with honestly the emotional problems of yourself and your employees, all of these things go into whether or not a business is successful, and some of it is very much off the beaten track and is not going to be in your in your local kind of trade show catalog of stuff you're going to learn, but it's stuff you should probably cultivate.
Yeah, yeah. That's a really good point. And Eric, I think the other great thing that this brings up is, like you said, those facts that then, what our training, kind of what our skills are, become part of what our company are. Kristen says, "Me too, Ramona." So it is about 99% based on my current quick math. No, just kidding. But Terry, with the communication and the writing, and you with your background there, I think all that is really important for the regulators to understand, is that we don't want to go, okay, well, now I'm a sublimator, now I'm an embroiderer, now I'm a screen printer, now I'm a direct to garment guy, whatever. That doesn't mean that how you run your business shouldn't, use those skills that you brought to the table from wherever, right? I mean, we see it all the time, people that are very interested in music and bands and things like that. Where do they start? They start with music and bands, and they, that becomes their niche. That becomes what they're interested in, right? And so I think for the regulators to kind of embrace those other skills that they have, and like you said, don't shy away from those soft skills. So we can talk more about those here in a little bit.
Yeah. Well, there's skills that you have and then skills that you cultivate. And I think in both cases, we kind of we give short shrift to skills that aren't technical skills directly related to decoration. Do we need all of those? Absolutely. You're never getting away from the technical skills. We need those, and we're all going to keep teaching those every day. Later today on the live show, I'll be teaching some of those skills. But if you ever turn into one of my classes, you'll find that I like to sneak in other content, and the other content I sneak in is usually this kind of soft skill stuff or this unrelated stuff. And kind of what I say about this creatively is I teach people to consume broadly and create with focus. Cast a wide net, because the things that you're interested in, both in your kind of creative categories and in the things that you think of as these skills, the things that you have that you cast broadly and kind of bring in, you take this full experience of a life and bring it in and bring it to bear on your work. It does create kind of the unique culture of your business, and it can inform a lot of things. I can't tell you how many times I've had something from either the fact that I've had a fairly broad education and from all of the weird jobs I've done and all the cool people I've gotten to talk to that I bring into my decoration business and the business I've done with other decorators that have been useful. And I think that's the thing. We can't get too narrow-minded about that stuff. We do want to be focused on what's most important to our businesses and what's most important to our decoration focus if we're talking about the creative side of it. But we want to cast enough of a wide net and understand that bringing all that stuff in and kind of mulching that together, letting that stew in the back of your head, is where we get all these ideas and where we start to also, like you said, form the unique version of business that's going to be your stamp, that's going to make you interesting. The unique value proposition is also partially based on who you are and what you've consumed, what you've taken in, and how you bring that to bear on the problems of decorating, on the problems and on the things, the solutions that we provide to people in decoration.
Yeah. Like Carolyn says, I was cocktail waitress, so I'm prolific in bar napkin orders.
People have no idea how much skill that actually takes. And on top of it, I'll say, as much as that is funny and a joke, everybody who's digitized or done art has actually gotten the napkin sketch, the real honest to goodness, biro, the like ballpoint pen on a napkin sketch. Being able to take somebody's bad input, whether that's a shoddy order or bad art, and make something useful out of it is absolutely part of what we need to learn how to do. And taking notes quickly, as Terry will tell you.
This show grew out of bar napkin notes, so
we still use that in
this podcast.
Yep. And Carolyn agrees. Many a bad drawing, absolutely. I've got examples. I got receipts. I can show you the digitizing I've done off of terrible drawings.
Well, this is kind of in Aaron's wheelhouse, but when you start a business, you have to look at, okay, here are my strengths. Here's what I have in my toolbox. What's the whole picture though? What are all the things that I need to do to be successful in this business, and what are the weak areas? How do I either cultivate that or contract it or hire the right people as well?
Yep. Yeah, that's definitely a huge part of this. And like you said, Terry, you've got to be willing and able to go, okay, here's what my current skill set is. Here's, like you said, what do I need to cultivate? What do I need to grow and improve or bring in, outside? But to then, have that ability to step back and look at it from a big picture view. And honestly, not to try to pitch my workshop here, but that's kind of the whole idea of that, right? Let's do that without having to waste a bunch of time and money. Let's plan it and let's look at it. So we can get into that. But while we're doing some joking, Yosta had one here too. To look at something from a different angle, one must have a degree. So,
God, Yosta, I gotta shake my head for you, my man.
All right.
Should I
see the
explain
rim
it
shot
and ruin it?
in Sweden?
I don't have the and I don't have a soundboard. Like, I know everybody's expecting the soundboard. I need like the morning DJ soundboard right now. That's what I'm looking for.
We can get one of those.
That
Those
might
do
have to
plug in
happen.
the StreamYard.
Might have to happen.
Well, along those lines too, that self-assessment, you have to be willing to admit that, you know what, I'm not very good at this part. And some people have a little trouble with that. And we can see it. We can see that out there. We can see through the podcast airwaves that you're not very good at this part.
But that's us too. I mean, and also that's the thing I'm going to tell you. Your favorite expert has a weakness. Especially if I'm your favorite expert, there's several. But for sure, your favorite expert, and I'll even put that in scare quotes for everybody. Your favorite expert has a weakness, and people absolutely understand that's real. The thing is, another soft skill is realizing that some of the blocks we have in front of us are kind of emotional blocks, are not problems with business. It's problems that we have with ourselves. It's feeling ashamed to ask for help. It's the stuff that comes out of kind of, and hey, I know I'll go ahead and use what I'm going to call an Aaron term, which is probably unfair, but I'll go ahead and use an Aaron term and say limiting beliefs. We have these beliefs about ourselves that cause us to not move forward, and it can be pretty damaging. So I'm kind of, part of this is not to say, certainly the other stuff is business stuff. Business planning and dealing with, honestly, doing the money part of business, doing the marketing part of business. A lot of people delve into the creative work because they love the creative work and then don't do the business side of being in business. Certainly that's a big part of it. But even that can get hampered by the fact that people are afraid to do business, have been raised with this concept that asking for money in recompense for things they do is somehow dirty, especially if they come from there's this weird art culture where it's like, is it art or creative if I had to get paid for it? Ask all of the Renaissance painters who had patrons about that. That people have been paying for art forever. But yeah, still, there's a lot of these weird little beliefs that people kind of internalize, and it causes them to not get done what they could get done. Yeah. And I think that's part of it too. That's part of the soft skills, or stopping, getting too stuck on the concept of some of the hard skills can be a problem too. Because though we're usually complaining about people not thinking about profit, if you go out and just go, I'm here to get money. I'm here to get money. What is your job? I'm here to get money. You will absolutely not get money if that's the only thing you think about, because you're going to leave behind something else that's critical, or you're going to find, especially in this current market where people are doing things like buying things from people who have purposes and statements that are important or that have causes behind them. If you just show up and go, everybody's my customer because I'm here to make money, you're going to miss
Why did you get into business? To get rich?
Cool. Do you have anything else to offer? We all wanted that. Yeah. So that's a given. We all wanted to make some profit. We were all here to make some money. What else is important about you? What's interesting about you? Because that is not interesting. Yeah. That's just the case. And I mean, hey, I'm all about everybody making profit. I would love everybody to make a lovely, tidy sum and do well and increase the business tenfold. That's awesome. It probably won't be enough to run up and just be like, I'm the money guy. I'm like, yeah, we're all the money guy. Now what? Now what? Well, now what else are you?
Yeah. And you could take that even a step further. It's like, okay, I got in this to make money. Well, yes and no. Why this? Right. So that, it's just,
there's other ways to make money.
Depth of getting deeper into the why, right? Like you could go out and get the job, the just over broke, and make money. Or you can run your own business, right? So why do you want to run your own business? Why do you want the headaches that come along with that as well?
And we all know, and Aaron especially, you've dealt with so many people doing consulting on businesses. When it's hard, when the profit margins are sucking, when the business is not doing well, which will happen to all of us at one point or another, or when you're just looking at a bad quarter, if your only reason to do what you do is I'm here to make money, you're having a real rough time.
Yeah.
There's nothing to help stilt you up. There's no purpose to drive you forward. That you will start if your mood rises and falls with the bar charts, you're gonna have a hard time, and you need a little bit more than that to carry you through.
Yeah, totally.
Well,
And,
as you know, as an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
you have to have a certain level of passion, because it's not easy. And anybody who thinks, well, I want to work for myself, so I have lots of free time. Well,
we know the joke. Yeah,
being an entrepreneur
Sure.
gives you the opportunity to work all the hours there are in the day, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Any and all, and usually most. Yeah,
exactly.
So
Yeah, and it becomes that trade-off. But I think a lot of that, it kind of does fold back into what I always say, if you want to add another Aaronism to the to the books here, is
There we go.
your reasons have to be bigger than your excuses as an entrepreneur, because there is nobody holding you accountable. There is no, well, you're not getting your paycheck if you don't show up for work, because you aren't getting your paycheck if you don't show up all the time, especially as you're getting started. So anyhow, all right, well, let's keep moving forward here a little bit, because we've got lots of areas to cover, and not saying that it might end up as a 2 or 3 part show, but it might end up as a
hey, this is a great go-to, I think.
That's
honestly.
right.
This is a great go-to. We talk about a lot of the hard skills. This is a great go-to for
Yeah.
when we're not talking about the hard skills.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's before we get into that, though, I did find a comment from Carolyn here that I think
like this one.
will help us kind of tie up that last segment there too. Carolyn says, sometimes it's difficult to charge my specialty customers for my own initiative to go that one step further, unless they say, do what you want and make it awesome. Motorcycle guys are awesome about this, by the way. You have to balance out what you are charging them for something, right? So I guess, to me, what I'm taking from that, and Eric and Terry, I'd love to hear what you guys think of this, but what I'm taking from that is, that is that balance, right? We want to do the creative, we want to do the awesome things, but at a certain level, you just can't charge what you need to charge to make that worth your time. People think that you're charging for the thing, but ultimately, as decorators, what we're actually charging for is our time and experience. So Eric, you want to dive into that first?
No, and this is something I talk about all the time when I'm discussing pricing and profit with my embroidery people. I'm like, hey, we all know when we're getting ourselves into an art project, when we're doing something that either we're expanding our own boundaries, and that can be valuable enough to us to go, all right, this is educational for me, I'm just going to cover my costs. That you can decide to do that, but you should be very clear with yourself and clear with your customer when this is happening. Otherwise, there are reasons to go above and beyond, but you have to start looking at it and going, all right, if the customer didn't order it and they can't afford it and I didn't offer it, but now I'm deciding to go above and beyond, why am I doing that? Does it work for the business? And it certainly can't be the meat of your work. I will say, by all means, I consider some of the projects I've done that turned into art projects to be entirely worthwhile, because they've become showpieces that I use to explain things. They've become, like I said, skill builders that I used to eventually get into the business of doing pieces like that where they were being paid for. So everybody who goes too hardcore and says, if it's not profitable, don't do it, that is not necessarily the case. We have to look at a larger picture. And I think that's where, when we talked about balance, that's it. But there really is this moment where we go, all right, so hard skills and also kind of business thinking has to come in and go, all right, I know what my costs are. I know what my numbers are. I know what time this is going to take, and I need to make a certain amount of money to make this profitable. I need to know that, but I also have to have the freedom to make decisions that allow me to do that work, even if it's not ultimately super profitable, when it makes sense for other reasons, when it's an investment in some other part of my skills or my marketing, or an investment in the customer. There's a balance to be had. The problem is when we don't look at either of those sides. That's where it comes into kind of play for me, is that sometimes people don't look at that and don't allow for one or the other to happen. Either they get totally hardcore and say, I'm only doing this kind of work, and then they cut themselves off from an entire opportunity that might have built into another kind of work for them that might have actually been higher profit margin in the end, or they get so bogged down into the creative side of it that they're not looking at the money at all until the end of the quarter, and they're completely underwater by the time they start doing the books. Neither of these is healthy. It's about having a balance between the two, and it means kind of checking yourself on whichever is your weak side of that equation.
I didn't make any money, but didn't it look cool?
Well, it's hard not to do that, though.
Well, and Eric, I agree with you 100%. Sometimes it's just a matter of growing your own skill set, and so Yeah, let's we're gonna go a little further because I personally want to learn how to do this and kind of push our own boundaries. But the other thing and the beauty of what we do is it's out there in the world, and
Yeah.
and having the opportunity to get a product out there in the world that other people are going to see and say, "Hey, where did you get that?" That's like putting part of that the profit that you're losing, that's marketing money. And
Exactly. It's a
so you're
marketing
putting it
spend.
out there. And there's a decorator up in Chicago, and it's just a simple thing, but whenever they have a kind of a cool job that they do, they'll print one more and then they'll heat apply foil because it's plastisol and foil sticks to plastisol. They'll do one of those images, an additional one with foil on it, and put it in the box. And so yeah, they went a little further. They gave away another product, but what happens? People call back and go, "That was so cool. Hey, you know what? We want to get some more of those." So, another reason to kind of go above and beyond, and
Totally.
putting that one more product out there where people will come up to them and say, "Where did that come from?" So, it's an investment.
Yeah, and I think we all kind of develop a sense for what customers are going to be potential markets for that, or what markets might make sense. And like Carolyn says here, yeah, showpieces exactly get you more work most of the time.
Yeah.
And the other thing I've told people about that, you do have to be careful about what you show when you show something. And by the time it is an example that you're selling from, be very clear about what it costs to people. That's where we're talking about profit. Once we've made our initial showpieces out there and people ask about it, that's where we're very clear about what it costs to be profitable after that. The first one, we talk about it with our customer and say, hey, I'm giving you a sweet deal because this is something I want to try out and something I want to work on. If you're cool with that, I just want to talk to you ahead of time and say, I am going to show this piece. I'm going to share it. It's going to be a sample on my wall. I'm going to be posting it everywhere. Is that cool? And if you can make that happen, you can get this really mutually beneficial thing that happens where they talk about the cool piece, you talk about it, they're sharing it in their social media, you're sharing it, and we're getting more work. And that's great. Just think about that while you're doing the pieces. I think the problem we have, and certainly the problem I have, is sometimes you will over refine, overwork a piece because you just feel that's the way it should be, even though that's not what's being asked for. That's where you got to kind of check your own, kind of creative urges versus the, monetary health of your business.
Well, you have to have the bulk of that business going out the door. That is this. I'm running my equipment at capacity, getting this product out the door and making money on it. So you can't.
The gym's going, Terry.
Yeah, everything can't be an experiment and a show project. So
not unless you are absolutely charging out of the gate for that. And if the one thing I'll say about this, I have done this and had this mistake before where I go ahead and charge somebody full price on a thing that I am learning, and then we have a problem. It doesn't work. Something doesn't work about the crazy idea we all had together. Now we have to backpedal, and that's less fun. So make room for that. And also, I always tell people, make time to play and educate yourself, make time to play with your equipment. We all have the coolest job ever. Why would we not want to play and make cool stuff? Make time for that, but budget that in. Budget that time in. That's part of your education time. And Terry's totally right. It's a marketing spend, and we should be thinking of it that way.
Yeah.
But then use it that way when you do. Show the stuff. Show your work. By all means, show the kind of work you want to do.
Yeah.
Just like math class. Show your work.
Yeah, please.
That's right. That is right. And nowadays you got to bring a lot of paper for that in math class to show your work, but that's a whole different story. All right. Well, here's the deal. We've got Erich here with us. Obviously, that makes us feel very comfortable, very safe, right? We've got our safety blanket here so we can try new things and know that we're not going to break anything. So we want to try a little bit of a new discussion method here today. We'll see if you're in. Okay.
I'm in for
and
it.
So here's what we're going to do. Terry and I are going to throw out some discussion areas to you, Erich. And if you can help us break down these non-decoration skills we see businesses kind of really must enhance or add to their skill set. And what I'd ultimately like to get to with that is, what are some things that people can do to be able to enhance that? So I from looking at our list, it's almost a certainty that this will be a multi-part show over time, which is fine.
There's no way we're going to get to all of this, but that's cool.
No, not at all. But that's the cool part, right? We can always come back to this next time somebody has to cancel last second on us. If you're ready, Erich, I will start. Are you ready?
Go for it. Yeah.
All right, here we go. Pricing.
All right. Here's the first thing I want to bring up with pricing. One model doesn't work for everybody, and there are so many models for how we can not only produce value, but sell that value to a customer and get money back out of it, to get value back out of something. Looking at pricing, I think this is, if we're talking about a non-standard scale, everybody will tell you this: know what your numbers are, find out what your normal capacity is. And by the way, when I'm talking about capacity in this case, what is a reasonable amount of stuff that you can produce with your machinery in a reasonable amount of time? Really got to hit that word reasonable hard. You're not going to be at full capacity at all times. You're not going to run every hour of the day that you can.
Yeah.
People all talk about that, and that's great. You need to keep doing that. If you haven't done the basics of knowing your numbers, finding out the minimum it takes to maintain your business with all the people who need to run it, do that first. The other thing you should do is look at other models. I cannot tell you how many different kind of sales models I've been involved in over the years with e-commerce and with embroidery and honestly all manner of decorating printing. You can have business style pricing for one set, B2B style pricing, wholesale pricing for one set of customers. You can have a retail style brand that you're running under another name, under another URL, under a different storefront. You can have direct to customer, and you can have these all as a mix that's going on at the same time. So many times I talk to shops and they're trying to set this one pricing rubric that works for everything. And I'm like, if you have a more retail styled experience that you're providing for one particular set of customers, why would they not have a different pricing model than happens for your wholesale B2B clients?
Yeah.
Of course they would. You're providing a different experience that does something different, that is in a different worldview, kind of, if you want to think about it that way. There is a different way to price for different people. And I'll say this, from working internationally a little bit with people doing decoration and e-commerce, there are different ways people price around the world and deal with things like freebies and loss leaders that you may not know about. Go and investigate some different ways to deal with pricing. And then honestly, the thing I'll tell people to avoid the race to the bottom and avoid pricing by committee. Looking at the 4 shops around you and just going a little lower than their average, probably not the best way to handle this, and doesn't take into account your equipment or your unique business strategy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my take.
Awesome. I actually do a seminar on the 3 pricing strategies to avoid and then what to do instead. And you hit 2 of the 3. So that race to the bottom, pricing
Totally.
by committee, right? That
Yep.
be asking my Facebook group to tell me what to price my product, even though they have zero idea about what my company is all about. So
I'm going to say, no matter what the subject is, asking your Facebook group is not one of the strategies you should be using.
It's lovely to know this stuff and to know what people are talking about for
Market
industry
research only.
minimums.
Yep.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine for market research. The problem is I see people who are sweating, especially in the embroidery world, somebody who will be sweating about pricing, and they're talking about pricing from someone who's got 100 heads and they have 1.
Yeah.
It just is not the same game. And honestly, the same clients aren't going to make sense for those 2 shops.
Yeah.
And it's okay. There's no
Yep.
problem with that, but you need to look for the clients that make the best sense for your shop and your methods. And that it may be in, like we talked about, it might be your background that makes that happen. Might be the niche you decide to sell into that changes how you do pricing. I'll actually go ahead and give you a real version of this. Working with hospitals, I worked with a big hospital chain wherein, yes, we did orders that were bulk orders for the hospital. The hospital itself had a business-to-business style order that they would do, hundreds of pieces. However, we then sold directly to the employees, and we did it as a retail style web store where they bought individually and had stuff shipped to them individually.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that they paid exactly the same, that the hospital paid the same prices as the individual customers buying their stuff?
Terry, go ahead.
I'm going to say no.
100% not. The people who were getting a retail styled experience were paying retail style prices because
I
we
was going
had
to
to
raise
do
my hand
retail
really
everywhere.
high and say ooh 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 ooh, but then I thought most people haven't seen Welcome Back, Kotter. So
No, totally. I mean, that's
Kotter,
the thing.
Kotter.
Well,
the
interesting thing here is, like we talked about at the outset, is the different diversities, different places people come from. Inside the OSG community, everybody that kind of comes in contact, the one question that we ask everybody as they come into our world is, what is the biggest challenge in your business? And over the course of the 2.5, almost 3 years that we've been doing this, 75% of all those people have indicated that pricing is the biggest challenge in their business. And I think a lot of it does come from exactly right. There's people want to make it too simple. They want to have one, as you mentioned, Eric, one rubric to rule them all.
Sure.
And the other
one
side
Excel spreadsheet. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's like a sore spot for me.
Yeah. I love my spreadsheets,
Sure.
but at the same time, you have to, pricing's an art. And I think people want to make it too much of science. You have to have definitely some quote unquote science behind it.
Sure.
But ultimately, like you said, pricing's an art. The different customer groups and what your goals are and what their goals are going to be different. So you have to be able to have a framework that then allows you to be flexible with it. And because the other interesting part of this, from that information where I said, 75% of people say pricing's their challenge. Well, when I was out at Everything Embroidery Market, I did 5 different business classes out there. And in every single class, I asked people how many people knew exactly how much it cost them to be in business each day. What do you think the percentage of people that knew that was? And I may have already given this away. 10%. The crazy part was, I mean, obviously this was not a true scientific poll,
Sure.
but nobody was willing to fess up that they did. So it was 0% of 150 different businesses out there that didn't know what their numbers were. And you mentioned that earlier, Eric, that you've got to know your numbers to start, and then you can make a pricing program. You kind of refine your art at that point of how to price. So
and I want to comment about that as well, because and that's the thing that the flag went up for me when Eric was talking about how much knowing what you're capable of doing. And I did write a book about this, estimating production time for textile screen printing.
Available on Amazon near you.
But there are a couple of things. One thing is people will set their costs of producing something, their production availability on what they wish they could do, and not what they're doing today, not what they're capable of doing today. And that's a hard thing to admit. And when somebody says, hey, I'm going to price the same as company XYZ across the street, their capability is entirely different than your capability. Maybe you can do twice as much that they can, or maybe you can do half as much as they can, but you have to base it on what you can do. And in screen printing, one of the things that people will do is, okay, well, I'm going to figure out how long it takes me to do a 4-color job.
Sure.
Okay, stopwatch, ready, go. And they start printing 72 shirts, and guess what? They print them as fast as they can possibly print them, and that becomes our estimated production time. And you're never going to produce at that rate ever again, because in the real world, there are things that interrupt your producing those garments. You have to use real numbers, and it's a hard thing to admit. Can you improve on your numbers? Absolutely. But I've consulted with people who have said, we pay bonuses to our printers every week for exceeding production, and we're always 2 weeks behind in production. It's because the numbers you're using are not realistic numbers. And so anyway,
I agree.
I can go on and on about it, but you can read it in my book, Estimating Production.
You give me the link for that. I could have put that up right there. But I think there's a couple things that I want to bring out in the comments. I think this is true. First, of course, being funny, Eric from Northwest says, so you're saying to not find the lowest price competitor in your area and say you can beat their price by 10%. No, please don't. Because every time somebody does that, I'm like, I always tell people I have a mean way of saying things and a nice way of saying things, depending on how a customer comes to me, the energy they come to me with. And when a customer is really beating me down over price, the mean way I say this is like, they'll come to me and say, oh, I've got this guy, he's going to do it for half what you guys are going to do. I said, that's cool. You should go do that, man. Go get that guy to print your shirts. In 6 months when they're out of business, you can go ahead and come back to me and I'll take care of you. And that's the mean way. The other mean way is, oh, that's cool. I got 50% of my customers pay more than you. I know some people who pay more than you're willing to. These things are both true. And the funny thing about it, It's kind of what Keith says. Really, a lot of people are afraid to quote a price they know they should be getting. Once you get over that fear, pricing becomes much easier. If you're good at what you do, the customers will pay your price. If they don't, they may not be your ideal customer.
Yeah.
We want all customers without thinking that customers also have a value. The same way we're worried about a customer judging us, we should be judging our customers to some degree and say, is this a customer that fits with us? Are they paying what we are worth?
Yeah.
Yes, I know when we're struggling, sometimes we got to get out there and get jobs. If your needles aren't moving, this is a much harder discussion to have with yourself. And I get that 100%. But ultimately in your business, you cannot take unprofitable customers and keep running through the system. I will tell you, having been at a shop that's doing this evaluation and having consulted with shops doing this evaluation, very rarely do I find a shop that they don't go through their list and look at the profitability of their big customers and find out that one of the customers that they think is clutch just moves the money around. You will have one big customer in your shop that you think they're bringing in garments all the time. We're selling it to them. And I'm like, yeah, they came in pretty early in your shop and you had them on a certain kind of pricing and they've been getting this sweet deal forever and you haven't updated their pricing in the last 10 years. And all you're doing is moving money around between you two. Nobody's making any profit. We're just grinding money back and forth. It's barely skating by because there's somebody who's bringing in volume. You're just keeping your needles moving and nobody's making money.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not great. And there's a lot of those customers. You end up, we always say you have about, 80% of your time is going to 20% of your profit. And the customers really, if we could get rid of the less profitable customers and have more time to associate with the people who are bringing in more profit, we would make more money overall, or be able to work less, which is also a fine goal to have, is not to be killing yourself to make that same amount of money.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no problem with that. One other thing, I kind of like this too. This is just to put a cap on pricing. Eric Mickelson says, to price, all you need is a calculator, yellow paper, tablet, number 2 pencils, a Sandmark price list. Decide how much money you need to make to have fun on the weekend. You're good to go. As much as you might laugh at that, here's the real thing about this, though. If you know your costs and you know what you want to make and you know what time you have, you can do this. You price backward. Go, I want to make this much profit per hour. Now you know how to price if you know how long a job will take and you know what you're capable of.
Yes.
Yeah.
That it can be that simple. It's not as simple as that sounds.
Yes.
But it's also not necessarily the soul searching problem that it can be. And I think that really comes from people, especially people who come from the craft or the art world, where they did something as a passion. They might have even done it for free for people at some point or for very little because they were enjoying themselves. There's nothing wrong with enjoying yourself at your job and still making profit. Like you should be doing that. That's the concept. We're all hoping that's what happens.
But let's be really clear. Eric's comment was tongue in cheek. So let's just be clear on that.
It was. There's more than that. But you can work backward like that.
You absolutely
totally
can. But if I could go back to Keith's comment real quick too, he said, once you get over that fear, well, here's what I've discovered is that fear comes from a lack of confidence, right? You're not willing to charge what you know deep down that you're worth because you lack confidence. But what happens is inside of that fear, we get that fear because we lack the confidence, and we lack the confidence because we haven't done the work to get the information, right? I talked about how nobody knew what it cost them to operate their business on a day-to-day basis. I mean, this does take some work, but just like you were talking about, it doesn't need to be this, we've got to hike to the top of the mountain and get the wise guru. It means you've got to sit down and have a system to figure out how much does it actually cost me to be in business. I've got my cell phone, I've got, part of my mortgage, I have to pay myself, right? That's the big thing that most people miss is, I'm just getting started out, so I can't pay myself. I'm not saying you have to actually physically put a paycheck in your pocket, though you should move money back and forth. That's a whole different story. But you can reinvest, but you do need to pay yourself. So what is it that you need to make to cover your personal expenses? That should be included in there. And so just having that formula, and once you do that work, then you gain that confidence, right? You've gained that confidence that, okay, I know just at a glance, if it costs me $100 an hour to be in business, then if something takes me an hour, I need to be charging a minimum of $100. And now you've got confidence that you can price. So that's, again, so I love what Keith said. He's exactly right. I just wanted to get deep into, how we can get over that fear, right?
Well,
So,
and I think this is the other, like I said, one more last comment on that whole fear thing. I think part of what also happens is people, sure, last, I'm sure. This is like all of us designers who name something final. BS. It's never the last one. Final version 2, final version 5. Yeah, all right. So a comment about pricing, and this is about pricing, but it's about fear. Whenever we're looking at anything about our business or our skills that we're afraid of, one of the things that's happening, I think, and in talking to people, I think I've got some basis to say this, is that you're afraid you don't have the skill or you're afraid that you're not profitable. The thing is, not investigating it won't change that. If you're not profitable, you're not profitable. You just don't know that because you didn't run the numbers. It doesn't mean you're suddenly okay. It's very much like saying, I'm afraid I might be sick, so I'm not going to go to the doctor. That didn't make you well. That means you just don't know. You're just operating in the dark.
Yeah.
I totally understand it.
It's like a 2-year-old doing this, And for our podcast listeners, I'm covering my eyes.
No, it's ostrich mode, and we all get there. Everybody has this point where we're like, I know that if I look into my calendar, I've overscheduled myself, so I'm just not going to look at the calendar. That doesn't change the amount of stuff you have to do and the fact that you're not going to make your dates, and it doesn't change the fact that your bills are due and you're not going to have the money in the bank for the bills in the account. I'm not going to say it's not hard. Of course it is. All of us are averse to pain and suffering. We're all averse to knowing things that are difficult. That's absolutely true. The thing is, you can't plan against those problems. Really, I mean, you cannot plan against those problems unless you know what they are. You can't formulate a plan unless you can see those things. And frankly, if we do it ahead of the fact, like when we're talking about pricing, if we do pricing the right way, we won't have to be worrying about it on the back end because we will have charged the amount we needed to on the front end. So part of that is understanding that if we fix some of these root problems, we won't have the fear of the things that come on the back end. We won't have the symptoms of not having done it.
yeah.
So,
let me add, and I am also
wasn't the last thing.
Last comment.
I'm a spreadsheet nerd too, but
totally.
But once you do the work of building that, here's what it costs me. Then it's easy to go back when things change and just drop in that next number, and then just look over here at what the total is now, or once you sit down and, as I've talked about before, once you sit down and be your own consultant for a little while, and you build it, then you can just manipulate it, play with it, do different things. And Kim's always making fun of me about plugging things into my weekly budget. My weekly budget has also 5 tabs of different things that you can do with your budget. And so, but that's comes from being a spreadsheet nerd. So,
Terry, we're actually now called data hipsters, just FYI. So
data what?
Hipsters.
That's
data hipsters. Yeah.
Okay.
More cool. Yeah. All right. Some good comments. Now, quick. We're probably going to have to start wrapping
this up.
We tried
to one
new.
Of those topics.
It didn't work. Yeah. There was 9 things on the list. We probably shouldn't have started with pricing, just FYI. Now we know, right? Only 458 episodes to figure that out.
I will say this, though. I think we did bring the soft skills aspect to it, though.
Yes,
we brought the non-standard skills aspect to it. I think that is helpful. I don't think we talk about pricing and we go into the spreadsheets and we go into the cost analysis, and that's good, and we should still do that. But I'm glad we talked a little bit about the reactions that we have to it that aren't just based on numbers. I think that's good.
I agree.
That's worthwhile.
And we technically, based on looking at these things on the list, we could have 9 separate shows here, so or 8 more, right?
We got you covered, people.
Yeah, we do. All right. Well, real quick, Eric says, I think this is a good point here. A backhoe operator is $150 per hour. Mechanic makes $175 per hour. A lawyer makes $400 per hour. But for some reason, graphic artists charge $60 an hour.
You don't have to.
Well, I have to shout out to Eric also, Eric Mickelson, that he was the person who knew that on Welcome Back, Kotter, the guy raising his hand like this, was Arnold Horshack.
There's where that broad experience comes into play. You never know when a customer is going to be like, I like that guy. He knows Horshack.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, we've had some great comments from the regulators. Thank you guys so much. Well, so let's see here. Yeah, we are just about at time. Is there a 5 things?
I think we'll leave the 5 things off. I originally was going to do a 5 things. What I will say, I would like to kind of wrap up a couple of these things and just say,
Yep.
as kind of a final thought for this stuff, since I turned into the guest today for no reason aside from just, I guess, coming up with the comment or the content for today.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I think we do have things we have to cultivate, and we have things that are already in us that we might not know our skills, might not know our strengths. The things that make you weird are the things that make you interesting. When you were a kid and you were worried about your weird interests and things that you liked, that stuff and revealing that stuff makes you interesting to the class of people who are your tribe later on.
Yeah.
So, embrace a little bit of what makes you you for sure. But I think there's some things we can cultivate, and among them, the biggest ones for me, communication. Anything we can do to make ourselves understood clearly with people and to communicate at the right times the information that is necessary is useful. So anything you can do to pursue better, clearer communication is useful. I think that is absolutely the case, no matter what part of the industry you're in. And curiosity. If you don't have a curious attitude toward this, you don't maintain the beginner mindset, you don't look for new things to consume that help you expand, you will eventually kind of ossify. You will, turn into a rock. You will not change. You will get stuck in your own ways. So keep on consuming, but consume out there in a broad way. Don't think it's just us. I mean, hey, love you guys are with us. If all you do is listen to industry podcasts, pick a couple others, please. Pick a couple other books that aren't industry books, that aren't self-help
I don't
books, that
condone
are
this, Eric.
business
I'm just saying.
books. Just saying.
Just
I,
kidding.
I love you guys talking to us, but I think that also mix in some stuff that's outside of the field that you think you might usually want to be in, and consume some of that stuff and bring it to bear on
Yeah.
on all these problems. I think that's
Yeah,
it. So communication, curiosity are huge.
Yeah, I agree. And one other quick, if I can add to that, Eric.
Yeah, I have
talked
one
about-
other, but go for it. Jump in.
You talked about consuming, though. I just wanted to kind of jump in there. I think the other thing that's really important that I've seen a lot of people struggle with for whatever reason is they do spend a lot of time consuming, right? It's like they're sitting in front of a television. But the reality is, if you're ever going to move forward, you then also have to take action, right? So we talked about a bunch of things inside of pricing today. Well, what are you going to go do with that information, right? Are you going to go make sure that you do know your numbers, and how are you going to do that? So I think taking action is also something important. So I apologize for.
No. In fact, that actually kind of finishes off. I had 4 things I was going to kind of bring in. This is why I didn't have a 5 things. But this is the concept for me talking about consuming stuff. It's more like instead of saying, hey, I'm not trying to say you should go out there and just take in a bunch more stuff, spend more time scrolling. Absolutely not. More than I'm saying, curate the things you consume. Don't just consume all in one category. Don't just listen to one echo chamber. Don't just stay in the industry place. Don't just stay in your one fun place either. Consume some broad other stuff and let yourself get a little more expansive. But also the other 2 things I was going to say, the other kind of 2 C's here would be creation for sure. Get out there and make things and share them. By all means, you need to take action. You can't steer a parked car. So even if you're worried about the direction you're going, well, you're not going in any direction if you're not doing anything. Yeah. And the last one, which is also massive, is compassion. When you're talking to people, you have to take the chance to care about what they're doing, to care about their business, to care about them personally. And trust me, if a client feels that you care about what they're doing, even if it's just on the level of being jazzed about the project you're doing with them, they're going to feel that, and that's going to come back to you. So that's the other kind of part of that. I could have had a 5 things. I needed one more C, guys. I could have had the 5 C's today.
And there is your 4 things for the day. We just didn't have the graphic for it.
Yeah.
Do we have an intro for that? It's 4 things.
No, not yet. The 4 things. No, I don't like the 4 things. It's missing something. It's off. It's off. But yeah, seriously.
With Eric, we need one that says it's 6 things.
No, it's called the bonus thing. It's still 5 things. 5 is a nice round number. You can hold up your hand and count it off. It's great. You don't mess with the formula. Yeah, but yeah, I think that's the thing, guys. It's about just thinking about your skills, certainly what you have already on hand, but about cultivating those things that that make you interesting as a business and that make you better as kind of a steward of our business and as someone who's interacting with people. Hey, that's what it's really about. I think that I'm much happier to have somebody who has great soft skills who I can train on hard skills, who I can train on technical stuff. I think if you've got great soft skills, you're going to make an employee for someone anywhere who's someone who's going to be happy to have, and you're going to make a great entrepreneur if you can bring that, communication, curiosity, and caring to everything you do. I think you're going to be ahead of the game when it comes time to learn to digitize or to learn to, put some stitches down, to put some ink down somewhere where it needs to be. We can teach you that. We've got you for that.
Yeah.
The other stuff you may have to spend some time thinking about. And certainly, I think it does go into things like pricing. It does go into things like marketing and what we do with our niche and what we do when we're explaining our elevator pitch. All these come from how we consider ourselves and what we bring to the table and what we're trying to bring to the people we're selling to, what we're
Yep.
trying to bring to the community.
Yep. Totally. All right. Well, Eric, while we have you here, unless there's one more thing. Terry,
No, I think
good?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Any more last comments about the last comment we made?
No more last comments. All right,
Okay.
Eric,
Okay.
what do you got coming up here, sir?
All right, so what I have coming up is the Take Up, as every Friday. This week, it's episode 119, examining embroidery, seeing stitches and samples, where I'm going to talk about how we can learn from existing embroidery and translate what we see in sample pieces, or maybe in our retail research, or as Jay Bassell says, R&D, ripping off and duplicating, just the bad way of putting it. How we can check out samples and see stitch types and settings and shapes from an existing embroidery, whether we're making something new inspired by it or we've been contracted to reproduce a piece. I'm going to talk about looking at embroidery and figuring out how it was put together. So head over to erichcampbell.com, click on the Take Up tab at the top for the full playlist, and you'll see the latest episode is right there. Big thumbnail in living color waiting for you to click on it. Also, coming up fairly shortly, it feels like it's getting closer and closer. Fort Worth Impressions is my last big in-person class for this year, and making small run patches will be happening the day before the show. So don't just plan to show up and roll in rockstar day of the show. You want that long class, you're going to have to plan for one extra night before that, because I will be in the day before the show starts. Also, if you want to check out my latest article, Images Magazine out in the UK is carrying mixed media made simple. So images magazine.com is where you're going to find that in their latest digital issue, page 58. I love the little flip book they do for that stuff. Still fun if you're a magazine lover. You'll find Mixed Media Made Simple, where I talk about doing mixed media with embroidery. So print and embroidery stuff together, done simply.
Awesome.
All right.
Excellent. All right. Well, everybody check all that out. Eric, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Part 2 coming soon. Part 3 coming shortly after that.
I will let you guys close the show and be producer Eric again. See you guys next time.
Awesome. All right, Terry. Well, Eric Mickelson says, you guys always pump me up for the day. Thank you for all the education you provide the industry. You are very welcome. Awesome. All right, Terry, what about you? What's coming up for you, sir?
Well, everything you hear about DTG printing on the internet is wrong. That will be July 21st from 11 to 12:30 at Graphics Pro Expo, the Meadowlands, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Also, I have DTG DTF Summer Camp. That's going to be July 28th at Equipment Zone in Franklin Lakes, New Jersey. And you can sign up for that at equipmentzone.com. That is filling up very quickly. So if anybody's interested in coming, you should get signed up. My next complete screen printing business course in Chicago with Atlas Screen Supply is August 27th and 28th.
Nice.
My new screen printing class at Equipment Zone in New Jersey, that's the New York City area, will be September 10th and 11th. And my next class in Phoenix at Workhorse Products will be September 17th and 18th. And all my upcoming classes are on my website, terrycombs.com. How about you, Aaron?
Awesome. Well, as we talked about at the top of the show, I do have that workshop coming up a week from tomorrow called Growing Your Business Effortlessly. And this will be different than just a typical training. This is a true workshop. So there's going to be exercises to be done during the workshop and a mastermind at the end where we debrief and really kind of put things into action. So this isn't just I can just listen and tune in. This is you get to work, you start building your strategic plan for your business. Some of the things we talked about today, honestly. And so if you want to go to oursuccessgroup.com/grow, you can sign up for that. We have both just showing up. And here's the other thing about that, Terry, I guess I'll mention real quick. As we kind of talked about in pricing, and it's way back, Kristen had talked about, when she's doing something new that she wants to try, that she won't charge more for it. Well, this will be the only time that this workshop is this price. I do plan to continue going with this, but this is kind of the introductory. Let's get it out there to the world and get as many people signed up. So this is your chance to get it at these low prices that we've got them set at. So that's happening again, July 15th. It'll be in the afternoon. So I decided to do it on a Saturday. So just in case those folks that, do have the day job, that they have an opportunity to start building their side hustle there to get it moving forward. So so that's happening July 15th. Going to take a breather I've just got back from 3 weeks of travel, so nothing else really planned for a little bit, but September 11th, I will be participating in a whole series of 30 experts over 30 days called the Small Business Skills Summit. It's actually out of Australia. So I'm one of the few Americans that'll be speaking. So you'll get some enjoyable Australian accents if you check out the rest of them. But so yeah, that's going to be happening for a whole 30 days. Obviously, my session is on September 11th. And if you go to osg.link/skills summit, make sure you get those 2 S's in the middle, skills summit. You can check it out. My session will be called Conquering Fear and Thrive. So I'm looking forward to sharing that. A couple days later, I will be off to Charlotte, North Carolina for the Graphics Pro Expo. And the day before, I get to be the host MC of the Start Here Academy. And I'll be highlighting the 3 amazing makers and influencers. You guys have met some of them here, Stan Banks and Lisa Potts. And then we also have Eve Lowry. And so it's going to be a really cool, fun event the night before. And then we'll be hanging out with the folks at Graphics Pro the rest of the time there in North Carolina at Charlotte. So go check that out. And if you want the short link, it's osg.link/SHA for those of you listening on the podcast side here. After that, heading over to Sublimation Summit in Peachtree City, Georgia. Some more details coming up on that, but that's September 23rd. And then another whirlwind trip for me. The next day, I will be moving on to Myrtle Beach, North Carolina. I get to take this trip with my dad, actually. We're going to go enjoy Myrtle Beach after the Everything Embroidery Market as well. But that's September 24th. And then short break. And then we will be heading out as the 2 regular guys to Printing United in Las Vegas, Nevada, October 19th through the 21st. There will be a 2 regular guys booth there, plus lots of other activities. Actually meeting with the folks at Printing United here next week to kind of start getting some details lined out for everything. But really excited about Printing United coming up October 19th through the 21st. So look for more details on that. All right.
At your at Small Business Skills Summit out of Australia, will they be serving Vegemite sandwiches for lunch? Do you know?
Absolutely, yes. It's BYOV. That was another head shake from Eric. In fact, that was actually so bad that was like a hand.
He's gonna say it. He's gonna say it.
Okay. Well, on that note, Terry, before Eric cuts us off, is what I meant to say. We have come to the close of another show, and we do want to thank Erich Campbell for being our guest today. What a wonderful bit of information that he shared. And now we've got 2 or 3 more parts coming soon. So look for that in August.
We also want to thank Eric as our show producer for pushing all the buttons in the background while he was talking.
Yes, he did a fantastic job of he was also juggling. I don't know if you guys saw that. He had some juggling that he was doing at the same time. So next week, Terry, we've got Gloria LaFont, who's going to be joining us to talk about SEO, website traffic, and anything else marketing. Somebody wonderful that we met over on LinkedIn, and she's going to be sharing some great information that you can put into use right away in your business. So make sure you tune in next week at 10 a.m. Center of the Universe Central Time, every Friday, 10 a.m. where you see us here, even if it's not just me. And one other quick thanks to you and Eric and everybody else who has been covering for me for the last 2 weeks. I'm not. What I've heard is the show's better, so I don't know how to take that. But we'll...
Not true. All right. Until next week, I'm Terry Combs. He's Aaron Montgomery,
and we are the 2 regular guys.
Here we go. We're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to 2 Regular Guys. Check out our website at 2regularguys.com. That's the number 2, regularguys.com. You can also interact with us over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/2regularguys, or send us a tweet, twitter.com/2regularguys. And we have a YouTube page. You can find all that from our website, 2regularguys.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to spending some time with you again next week.